Michigan survived Purdue by a score of 21-16. And with Michigan, they're such a hard team to read this year. On one hand, you have the Nebraska game and the Washington game. On the other hand, you have this game against Purdue. You have their game against Wisconsin at home, and to a lesser degree, the Michigan State game. Where Michigan State, maybe if you want to, you can chalk it up to rivalry or whatever. At one point, they were at least ahead 31-13. This game and the Wisconsin game in particular, they were never ahead by more than a score against Purdue and 2 scores against the Badgers. Their worst games against Power 4 competition. This channel will make you a college football expert and help you enjoy watching games and make more accurate predictions. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment your thoughts, and watch the video all the way through so that you can get the full package. And check the description and pinned comment for more ways to help yourself and this channel of the season, outside of maybe the USC and OU games. Purdue covered. Michigan won. They escaped, but Purdue was in this thing. Purdue was live in the third and fourth quarter. If you're Michigan, you're just happy that you're 7-2 at this point. That was bad. I watched that whole game along with Nebraska USC, and if Michigan played Nebraska with TJ Lateef at quarterback, there was a chance that Nebraska with their second-string quarterback, who's nowhere near Dylan Raiola, beats Michigan. I mean, Michigan is blessed that they played this game against Purdue and not against Michigan State on the road or Washington at home or against Maryland on the road or Northwestern or Ohio State at home. It was a bad game. Michigan was able to, at the end of the day, dominate on the ground. They probably didn't run the football enough. Bryce Underwood had a very off performance. I would say it was his worst performance of the season, even including the Michigan State game. Again, it's a game on the road, and MSU is more talented than Purdue. For him to go 13 of 22 for 145 yards, a pick, and then a fumble out of the end zone, that was pretty bad. Pretty bad on the part of Michigan. They outgained Purdue by over 100 total yards, and they did have a losing turnover margin. So in theory, yes, they probably should have won by 2 scores. On average, they probably win by 2 or maybe even 3. But the fact that they would have never covered, given the circumstances in this game, is pretty scary if you're Michigan. They're still alive in their playoff hopes. They are. But you're not going to beat Ohio State, let alone Northwestern or Maryland, playing like this, given the location and caliber of teams those are. Purdue was able to run the football semi-effectively. They do have a weird offense, so I don't really take much away from Michigan's defense, honestly, especially with the 3 of the top 4 linebackers being out. But Michigan's offense is, I mean, what this is right now it's a hybrid of last year's offense and the 2021 offense. That's what you have right now. And that's not good. That is not good, especially since you do not have the defense of 2021 or the special teams unit of that year. I mean, this team would not play within 2 touchdowns of the 2021 team, 3 touchdowns of the 2022 team, would not play within 4 touchdowns of the 2023 team. Like, it's a down year in football. No, I mean, no team at the top is 2024 Ohio State, 2023 Michigan, the 2 Georgia teams, whatever. Just isn't. And Michigan is sitting top 20 in FPI, top 20 in power ratings, but not top 15. And they, against Washington, and I would even say against MSU, looked improved in part compared to earlier in the year. And the one good thing about this game was their power rushing has taken big steps forward from where it was early in the year, where they could not get 5 yards consistently. They could hit the big runs, but outside of that, they could not hit 5-yard runs consistently. Now they can, but of course, if you're a Michigan fan, the cynical thing is that Haynes is conveniently hurt the minute you can power run. Like being able to power run, but then break off big ones makes you a totally complete rushing offense, like a Notre Dame caliber rushing offense of last year. They do not have that this year. Their offensive line isn't as good, and without the mobile QB, Denbrock's offense cannot operate at peak efficiency, especially in the ground game. But this was disheartening to see because of how Purdue's defense was able to make things look so difficult in the pass game. And that was with Michigan's receivers getting open. Now, I know Michigan suffered injuries, but for Underwood to have 2 games like that in a row is really discouraging. It would be one thing if, say, Purdue had several flukish long touchdown plays, and you look at it and you think, okay, they let Martindale have a little bit too much control of the defense again. Like, time to permanently shut that down or something. Or maybe you had guys slipping on the turf like 2 or 3 times, and Purdue gets 3 50-plus yard touchdown passes off of that. That would be one thing. But that's not what happened here. What happened was one of Michigan's best players on offense had an awful day with a 47.6 QBR. That's what happened, where he had a 105.4 passer rating. And as much as I think on an average basis he is improving throughout the year, it's not by the margin that he should be, to be frank. That falls on the staff. Also, I would say some of that falls on him because there were so many open receivers last night that he simply did not hit. That was a bad game for whatever reason. The only positive for Michigan is that their D-line, I think, in pass rush is beginning to come forward, and their depth on defense is underrated. I mean, they were so banged up at linebacker, and to hold Purdue, given losing the turnover battle and the fact that Purdue runs that weird offense with some triple option stuff, to hold them to under 300 yards and 16 points to get a turnover in the red zone, I think the defense did its job. This game was entirely on the offense for not being able to establish control. That one touchdown drive by Purdue where they took almost 10 minutes off the clock, 9 minutes 30 seconds, that was bad for sure. The final touchdown drive was not good, no. But sometimes you'll have games where your defense, whether due to turnovers or different things, will allow opponents to score double digits on you. Like, it's hard to win games 20-10, even with limited possession. Ohio State, for example, yesterday, Penn State got 2 touchdowns because Penn State won the turnover battle, and they had one really good drive. And that's Ohio State's defense. It's the best defense in America. You don't have Ohio State's defense, so allowing 16 points I do not think is all that bad. But only putting up 21 on that defense is pedestrian. I mean, look at Purdue's schedule here. They allowed 33 to USC at home, 56 to Notre Dame on the road, 43 to Illinois at home, 27 to Minnesota on the road, 19 to Northwestern on the road, 27 to Rutgers at home, 21 to Michigan on the road. They have been able to put together some okay defensive performances, but you do not want to be one of those teams if you're Michigan. You don't. You do not. And I would venture that Purdue will give up 40 or more to Ohio State. They will give up 60 or more to Indiana because that is a rivalry game off a bye, and Cignetti will want to run up that score, and they'll give up 40 or more to Washington. I would venture. Could be wrong. Maybe they'll even beat one of those teams, but I don't think so. I think that Purdue, more likely than not, will finish 2-10. They'll be 0-9 in Big Ten play for the second year in a row. As for Michigan, all your goals are still in front of you. At least you didn't lose here, and if you lost here, but even if you beat Ohio State still, you would not be in the playoffs. By winning here, your playoff hopes are alive. You're entering the bye with some injuries to Cole Sullivan, Jayshon Barham, and Jimmy Rolder that are non-permanent, aren't season ending, I don't believe, though maybe I could be wrong. And you can get some of those players, if not all of them, back for your final few November games, especially for that Ohio State game and Maryland game. Not shying away from Northwestern, but it's more of a neutral field game, and Northwestern does not have the talent Maryland or especially Ohio State does. And then offensively, hopefully you can get some linemen back. Haynes is getting surgery on his foot, so he probably won't appear for the rest of the year, but if you can get him back, maybe McCulley left with an injury, hopefully you can get him back. These next few games are going to be a real test of Michigan's character. If Michigan wins out somehow, some way, then I think any criticism of the coaching staff is insane if they somehow win out. Now, there's also a world where, given that performance, they lose out. If Michigan football is what they are against Purdue, they will lose to Northwestern, Maryland, and Ohio State. Then you're talking about 7-5, and a 7-5 finish probably gets Sherrone Moore fired with that low of a buyout. So Michigan can go one of two ways. They can have an absolutely successful year. They can have a colossal failure. There are more ways than that. This team could go 9-3, lose to Ohio State, or maybe they lose to one of Maryland or Northwestern but beat Ohio State somehow, although I don't think that's likely. I think if you're going 9-3, you're beating Northwestern and Maryland and losing to Ohio State because they're in that own different tier that you can only hope you reach at some point in the future of your program. So that's the fork of the road that Michigan's at right now. And I think the bye is much needed. Outside of that, my takeaways are that look, Michigan's banged up. I think their rushing attack will finish as one of the nation's best, even if Haynes is out. What this offensive line has shown me in run blocking, what Marshall has shown me in power situations, what I've seen Jasper Parker do, what I've seen Bryce Underwood do on the ground. This is one of the nation's best rushing offenses. They just have a different edge to them, especially the O-line and running backs compared to what I've seen last year. Underwood, I don't know if he's regressing or not, but at this point of the year, the performance is certainly not awe-inspiring, and it's not inspiring at all. Hopefully, in the final 3 games, we can see a better version of him. Michigan's special teams also don't help. Punting was a disaster, for example. And as for Purdue, they're improving. They're not a great team. They're still bad, but they're not awful. And I think at some point, Barry Odom is going to win them a Big Ten game or few. Just not this year. Thank you for watching. It's my mission on College Football with Sam to make you the most informed, knowledgeable, and entertained fan as possible. We aren't perfect, but we hit the nail on the head more often than we hit our thumb with the hammer. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment, and if you're here, you've probably already watched the whole video. So thank you for doing those things.